Hello everyone. We now proceed with this topic, hypothesis tests concerning proportions, normal approximations. No? So let me show you the previous slide. So this is the previous slide I had solved. No? And we now proceed with this topic, hypothesis tests concerning proportions. No? So this is normal approximations. So in other words, proportion here, no, we are to test if that proportion will be rejected or not, no. So there is we have hypothesis, the null and the alternative to be constructed, and then we are going to determine uh, the value of the test statistic, no. So the value of the test statistic, and that test statistic has a normal distribution. Okay, so that means we approximate it to be normally distributed. No? So in that case, we have the random variable z, and the value of it is used is using this formula. No? So the value of it will be used using this formula. No? And then, so later in our example, I will discuss this in details. No? So that you can able to appreciate now. Okay, and then in here we have two population proportions, no. So we have the proportion for population 1 and another proportion for population 2. So we're gonna test whether they are equal or not, no. So let's now proceed with our example. Okay, so here's the example. So let's first concentrate on problem solving on test of hypothesis on a single proportion. So here's the claim. A builder claims that heat pumps are installed in 70% of all homes being constructed today in the city of Richmond, Virginia. Would you agree with this claim if a random survey of new homes in this city showed that 8 out of 15 had heat pumps installed? Use a 0.10 level of significance. Okay, let's analyze. So we have the builder claiming that heat pumps are installed in 70% of all homes being constructed today in this city. No? So P is 70%. So when we talk about proportion, it could be decimal, it could be fraction, it could be percentage. No? Okay. So in this case, we have a single proportion which is 70%. No? Excuse me. So in this case, we're gonna test if this claim will be rejected or not. No? So would you agree that this claim, if a random survey of new homes in this city showed that 8 out of 15 had heat pumps installed? So there's a random survey, okay? And it shows that in that survey of new homes, it showed that 8 out of 15 had heat pumps installed. Okay, so in this case, so we have N, the total number of heat pumps installed. Okay, so 15 and 8, sorry, 15 homes. Okay, now 8 of those 15 homes have heat pumps, no? So we have now x equals to 8. Okay, so with that is x equals to 8. So this is single proportion. So let's go back to this table. So this is hypothesis test concerning proportions, and this is p equals to p sub 0. So p sub 0 is 70%. Okay, and then we have here, excuse me. So we have here x, okay, so that is 8, no, in our example, okay, and we have this statistic p hat, okay, p hat, right? So p hat, so with this notation for hat, no, so p hat equals to x over n. So in this case, this is the total number of homes, okay, and this is the number of homes with heat pumps, okay, the number of homes with heat pumps. And when we divide, that will be the proportion, no, the proportion of the sample, okay. So in this case, we're gonna compare this value to p sub 0, no, we're gonna compare them, okay. We are gonna test whether the value obtained here is significant for us to reject the claim that p equals to p sub 0. Okay, so it could be one tailed test or two tailed test depending on the problem, no. All right, so let's go back. So in this case we have 8. So in other words, we have p hat is now equal to x over n. That's 8 over 15. And what is 8 over 15? This is below 70%, right? This is below 70%. So what is 8 over 15? So let's check. What is 8 over 15? So 8 over 15, 53.33%. So it's not 70%, no? In the survey done, it shows that there is 53%, no? Of 53% of new homes had heat pumps, no? So with that, we have here alpha equals to 0.10 level of significance. At that level of significance, is that enough? No. Uh, I mean, is 53% significant for us at a level of significance of 0.10 for us to reject the claim that the proportion is equal to 70%? So let's see. All right. So here's the null hypothesis. No. So we will convert it to decimal. Okay. Still, it is considered a proportion. No. So p equals to 0.70. This will be our null hypothesis now. Okay. And then for the alternative, okay. So in our alternative, that will depend on the problem, how it was mentioned, no, how it was stated. Would you agree with this claim if a random survey of new homes in this city showed that 8 out of 15 had heat pumps installed? So that means, so use a 0.10 level of significance. So what's the implication? So would you agree? So it depends upon our computation if we will agree with P equals to 70%. So that means it it can be higher or it can be lower, no? So that means we're gonna have an alternative hypothesis with the not equal sign symbol, not symbol, no? P not equal to 70% or P not equal to 0.70, okay? Because it's not stated in the problem that would you agree with this claim if a random survey of new homes in this city showed that 8 out of 15 had heat pumps installed? So with that, no, it's not mentioned that would you agree that the proportion is greater than 70%? That was not mentioned. Would you agree that the proportion is less than 70%? That is also not mentioned in the problem. Therefore, okay, we have to consider both. Considering both, we're gonna apply the two-tailed test. P not equal to 70%. No? Okay. So we now proceed. So P is not equal to 0.70 as our alternative hypothesis. And then the level of significance is 0.10. Okay. So test is statistic and the critical region. Okay. So we'll use the formula for the test statistic. So we have this one. Okay. So this will be the formula. Another version is this one. Okay. So we have here the number of homes with the with heat pumps, that is x equals to 8, right? We have n equals to 15. P sub 0 in our example is computed is equals to 0.70, that is 70%, right? This is 15, then P sub 0, Q sub 0. So what is Q sub 0? Q sub 0 is 1 minus P sub 0, okay? And that is 0.30, no? So that means 30% of the whole of of homes, no, have no heat pumps, no. 30% have no heat pumps. So 70% of all homes have heat pumps, in short, no. So that's the interpretation to this, no. And P sub 0, Q sub 0. Okay. Now, so let's proceed. So we have Z test, no? The test statistic Z. And this is the standard normal distribution. Okay, and we have two-tailed tests. Okay, we have two-tailed tests because of this symbol, not equal sign. And we're gonna solve for the critical value of Z. No? The critical value of Z. So there are two critical values. Z alpha over 2 and Z negative Z alpha over 2. Okay? Alright, so this area is what? So we're gonna use table 8.3 to determine this area. Now, table 8.3. Okay? Sorry. We're gonna use table 8.3 to determine z sub alpha over 2 and negative z sub alpha over 2. No? Okay? So, we have alpha over 2 here equals to 0.05. So, this is area to the right. No? area to the right of 0.05, okay, because it is two-tailed test, so therefore alpha will be divided into 2, no? Kasi two-tailed test siya eh. So on the other hand, this is also 0.05, no? Okay, and now we have here, so using table 8.3, so this is the first uh, critical value that will be solved or that will be obtained, no? So and that critical value is equal to negative 1.645. Lower than this value, okay, that will be the critical region, okay? And then if this is negative, this will be positive because of the symmetrical property of our curve, okay? And beyond this region, or should I say greater than 1.645, that will be the critical region, okay? So we can now proceed. So, but before we proceed, let us review. So, how did we arrive with those values? So, we have table 8.3. So, table 8.3. Okay. So, we have here area to the left. Okay. Area to the left. And we have 0.05 area to the left. So, we're gonna locate 0.05. Okay. Scrolling down. 0.05 here. We have here so 0.05 here, 0.0505, okay, 0.0505 and 0.0495. So between 0.0505 and 0.0495, that's the location of 0.05. So it's between negative 1.64 and negative 1.65. Uh, So we'll get the average of negative 1.64 and negative 1.65. We will arrive with negative 1.645. Okay? So that's why we have negative 1.645. Okay? So that's it. And these are the critical regions now. Okay? So we proceed. So there's a statistic computed value. So we have this formula. Okay? So z equals to p hat minus p sub 0 all over square root of p sub 0 over n. And this is the formula for p hat. We have x over n. Okay? So our statistic p hat, x over n. So 8 over 15, right? So 8 over 15 minus 0.70 all over square root of 0.70, 1 minus. So this is q sub 0, 1 minus p sub 0, 1 minus 0.70 over 15. So we'll arrive with negative 1.409. Okay? So our decision now is that in the critical region, negative 1.409. It's not in the critical region, right? negative 1.409 is not in the critical region. So we can now decide that do not reject h sub 0. Since the computed value z equals to negative 1.409 is in the non-rejection region, okay, do not reject h sub 0. Okay, thus the analysts, that is me, agree with the claim that heat pumps are installed in 70% of all homes being constructed today in the city of Richmond, Virginia, because a random survey of new homes in this city that showed that 8 out of 15 had heat pumps installed is found to be insignificant at the level of at the 0.10 level of significance. So that will be our answer. No? That will be our decision. That we will not reject h sub 0. That p equals to 70%. Still, we will, no? P equals to 70% no, is accepted. No? Okay, so we now proceed with the second problem. So this time, we have two proportions to consider. So here's the problem. A vote is to be taken among the residents of a town and the surrounding county to determine whether a proposed chemical plant should be constructed. The construction site is within the town limits, and for this reason, many voters in the county believe that the proposal will pass because of the large proportion of town voters who favor the construction. To determine if there is a significant difference in the proportions of town voters and county voters favoring the proposal, a poll is taken. If 120 of 200 town voters favored the proposal and 240 of 500 county residents favor it, would you agree that the proportion of town voters favoring the proposal is higher than the proportion of county voters? Use an alpha equals to 0.05 level of significance. So let us analyze. So there is a proposed chemical plant not to be constructed, no, in uh, in a certain town, no, and so there is a poll taken, no. So in this case, we're gonna determine uh, whether the proportion of town voters favoring the proposal is higher than the proportion of county voters. So when we talk about town, so you know town like here in Pampanga. So our town is, let's say, Bacolor, Pampanga. So Bacolor is a town, no? Mexico, Pampanga. So Mexico is a town. So when we talk about county, that refers to province like Pampanga. No? Okay, so Pampanga is the province. So another term for province, we have county. County or province, just the same. No? So excuse me. So surrounding county to determine whether a proposed chemical plant should be constructed. So some are in favor, some are against the construction of a chemical plant. No? Okay. So the construction site is within the town limits. And for this reason, many voters in the county, no? So many voters in Pampanga, halimbawa, no, believe that the proposal will pass because of the large proportion of Bacolor voters, halimbawa. No? Large proportion of town voters who favor the construction. No? Yun ang pinaniniwalaan nila. No? So, to determine if there is a significant difference in the proportions of town voters and county voters favoring the proposal, a poll is taken. So, gumawa ng survey. So, excuse me, if 120 of 200 town voters favor the proposal and 240 of 500 county residents favor it, so would you agree that the proportion of town voters favoring the proposal is higher than the proportion of county voters? So, yun. Ganun yung paniniwala nila. So, sa kanilang paniniwala na mas marami daw in favor na town voters, no, kaysa sa mga county voters. Okay? Yun ang paniniwala. So, sa isang populasyon, no? So, population 1 and population 2. Sa population 1, yung mga voters dun sa town. Population 2, yung mga voters, yung mga total voters dun sa county, no? So, let us now answer the problem, no? So, sa survey na to, so gagamitin natin mamaya whether i-reject natin or hindi yung pinaniniwalaan ng mga tao sa problem, no? Na na ano, na papasa, no? Papasa yung proposal, no? Dahil daw maraming town voters ang in favor kumpara sa mga county voters, no? So, let's see. So, given town voters. So, sa town voters, 200 yung sinurvey, no? 200 yung sinurvey. At dun sa 200 na yon, 120 yung in favor dun sa proposal. So, n sub 1, 200, x sub 1, 120. So, we have here two populations to consider, no? Population of town voters and population of county voters. Okay. So, just to give you an idea, so in this case, this will be, so dahil two proportions ang ating ko-compare dun sa county voters and excuse me, dun sa county voters at saka dun sa town voters, no? So, meron tayong two proportions ngayon na i-compare. And this will be our null hypothesis. No? We will equate the two proportions. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, yung number of county voters, or should I say, yung proportion ng county voters ay equal sa proportion ng town voters. No? So, tapos z-test tayo. Z-test. Setting formula ng z-test. So, meron kang P1 hat para sa population 1, no? P2 hat para sa population 2. Or should I say P1 hat? Ito na yung sa sample na kinuha sa population 1. P sub 2, ito na yung statistic, no? Na nakuha yung value, no, mula sa sample, wherein yung sample ay kinuha sa population 2. Okay? So, P1 hat minus P sub 2 hat. So, ito yung formula, x sub 1 over n sub 1, x sub 2 over n sub 2. Tapos, meron ka ditong P hat only, yung wala siyang subscript na 1 and 2. So, isabihin nga na pinagsama natin yung P1 hat and P2 hat. So, x sub 1 plus x sub 2 ang formula all over n sub 1 plus n sub 2. Tapos yung Q hat, 1 minus P hat siya nun. Okay? Okay. So, let's continue. Okay, so, ito siya. And then, para sa county voters, 500 county residents. Okay? At dun sa 500, 240 is in favor of the proposal. Construction of the chemical plant. No? And then, so 240. 120, 240. So 120 out of 200, 240 out of 500. Okay? So, with that, check nga natin what is 120 over 200. 120 over 200. That is 60%. Okay? 60% para sa town voters. O, para sa county voters, 240 over 500. Over 500, 48%. So, lumalabas, dun sa sample natin, mas maraming in favor. Mas maraming town voters na in favor sa proposal. 60% to, 48% to. So, would you agree that the proportion of town voters favoring the proposal is higher than the proportion of county voters? So, sa sample natin, 60% town voters, 48% county voters. Okay? Sa sample natin, kung pagbabasihan natin, we will agree. Diba? Pero hindi naman natin na-survey yung buong population. Yung population ng county voters and town voters. Okay? Sample lang kinuha natin. So, ititest ngayon natin whether yung nakuha natin na 60% at 48% ay significant para masabi natin na para ma-generalize natin na the proportion of town voters favoring the proposal is higher than the proportion of county voters. Okay? So, let us continue. So, P1 greater than P sub 2? Question. So, P1 para sa town voters, P2 para sa county voters. So, use an alpha equals to 0.05 level of significance. So, kung mapapansin nyo, class, so, greater than ang kinuha natin. Greater than yung ginawa natin. Dahil dito sa higher. Okay? So, one-tailed test. One-tailed test. Okay? So, we now proceed. Solution. So, this will be our null hypothesis. Okay? So, the proportion of town voters is equals to the proportion of county voters. Yun ang claim natin sa population ng dalawa. No? Ng mga county voters and town voters. So, ito naman yung ating alternative hypothesis that yung town voters favoring the proposal is higher, is greater than the county voters favoring the proposal. No? So alpha is 0.05. Okay? So test statistic, z-test, one-tailed test tayo. No? So this is z sub alpha. Area to the right, ang kukunin natin using table 8.3. No? Using table 8.3. Okay? So this is alpha equals to 0.05. So, sorry, using table 8.3, we're gonna solve for z sub alpha. No? Using table 8.3, we're gonna solve for z sub alpha. So we're in alpha here, area to the right of z sub alpha. So we have, so let's continue now. We will find z sub alpha. So finding z sub alpha, that is 1.645. So how did we arrive with 1.645? Okay, so 0.05. So as you notice, we don't have area to the right in our table. So mag-adjust tayo. So in short, ang hanapin natin yung 0.05 na nasa left. No? Kasi 0.05 to na nasa right. So sabihin niyan, hanapin natin yung area na 0.05 na nasa left. So ang ina-expect natin doon negative. So therefore, kung nasa right, positive yung z. No? So positive. So we have 0.05. Hanapin natin yung area na yon. 0.05 na area. Ito. Between 0.0505 and 0.0495. So, yun ay negative 1.645. So, therefore, kung to the right siya, kung right area siya, positive 1.645. Okay? Positive 1.645. Ganun lang kasimple. Okay? So, this is now the critical region. Z greater than 1.645. And then, we have here the test statistic computed value. So, ito yung ating formula, no? Na pinakita ko kanina. So, x sub 1 over n sub 1, x sub 2 over n sub 2, all over p hat, 1 minus p hat, multiplied by 1 over n sub 1 plus 1 over n sub 2. So, ito yung ating p hat in terms of x sub 1 and x sub 1, x sub 2, n sub 1, n sub 2. Okay? So, ito yung ating p hat. We add, then we add also in the denominator, then we divide. Then 1 minus p hat, ito yun, and so forth. So, x sub 1, 120 over 200, x sub 2, 240, and n sub 2, 500. No? So, plug lang natin yon. Ang lilitaw na final na sagot ay 2.87. 2.870. Is this in the critical region? So, let's see. Yes, it is, right? It is greater than 1.645. No? It is in the critical region. Okay? So, let's make our decision. Since the computed value z equals to 2.870 is in the rejection region or the critical region, reject 8 sub 0. Therefore, I, the analyst, agree that the proportion of town voters favoring the proposal is higher than the proportion of county voters, considering the 0.05 level of significance. So that will be my decision. Okay? As the analyst, no? Okay. So that's it. I hope you get it, no? So in general, base sa aking test, masasabi ko na yung proportion ng town voters favoring the proposal ay mas mataas kumpara sa proportion of county voters. Ibig sabihin, dun sa sample ko, significant yung mga values ng mga parameters. Mga values ng mga statistics na P sub 1 hat and P sub 2 hat. Yung P sub 1 hat, 60%. Yung P sub 2 hat, 48%. So, significant yung dalawa para masabi natin na hindi sila equal. Yung P sub 1 hat at yung para masabi natin na hindi sila equal, yung P1 and P2. No? Okay, yung dalawang proportion. Okay, so that's all for today. So, good day everyone.